In the opening scene, we're introduced to a well-known lawyer named Laura Monroe. She appears to be assigned a case in which she's offered $1 million simply to defend a criminal. But being an honest person, she politely declines, saying her conscience won't allow her to do so. Lauren is regarded as a lawyer who's more concerned with justice than money. Next, we meet Lauren's younger brother, William Monroe, a politician aspiring to be the mayor of New York City. On the other hand, we are shown Lauren's father, Archie Monroe, a wealthy businessman who's currently having difficulty breathing. He somehow manages to get into his car, but on the way back home, he passes away. Lauren is at a press conference when a news reporter informs her of the tragic news, leaving her in huge shock. In the next scene, Laura and William, their mother, Catherine, Lauren's husband, Scott, and their daughter, Claire, are seen attending the funeral. After everything is wrapped up, the brother-sister duo has a chat, and William mentions that their father was proud of her. They also discuss moving their mother to a location closer to them. Later, Lauren goes to her father's office and recalls how he used to teach her to play chess, relating it to the game of life. A week later, the Monroe family's attorney, Harold, announces the late Archie as well. And according to it, Catherine is now the CEO of their company. William is provided with $20 million, while Lauren is given only $1 million. The remaining $50 million are to be donated to the police and medical schools. After announcing this, Harold approaches Lauren privately and hands her a package, saying it was left to her by her father. Upon opening it, she discovers a pen drive and a pair of keys. She inserts the pen drive into her laptop, only to find a video of her father telling her that she must carry the truth to her grave. He apologizes for not being able to tell anyone about it when he was alive. Lauren walks into the woods where she finds a surface with a look that appears to be an entrance. She uses the key from the previous package to unlock it, only to discover stairs leading to a basement. Following this, Lauren musters the courage to walk down the bunker. Despite the darkness, she opens a door and finds a man bound. She bravely checks on the man, but he suddenly moves, causing her to flee in terror. Lauren returns home and decides to call 911 for assistance, but her brother intervenes at the same time and expresses that he feels bad for her regarding the money distribution, so he wants to share his part. But Lauren refuses it, saying money is not important to her. Later that night, Scott approaches her and asks if she's all right, which she confirms. But Lauren claims that she needs some alone time and sends him and Claire back. She then looks at a childhood photo of herself with her father, which triggers a memory of an argument she had with the following morning. She decides to go back to the bunker armed with a gun. This time she notices the man sleeping, so she quickly takes his fingerprints to find out who he is. During this time, the man opens his eyes, prompting her to run away. A short time later, she returns, wearing a mask, and questions who he is. He appears to know every detail about her, including her birth date, the name of her brother, and even how she got married against her father's wishes. Convinced, she removes her mask and asks him again about his identity. The man tells her that he feels like a family member after being held captive for so long. He asks if she's a good person, and when she confirms, he tells her to release him, as that's what a good person does. However, Lauren believes that he did something to warrant his confinement. She tries to figure out what's going on, but the man first demands juicy steak, potatoes, a Caesar salad, Goldwater cigarettes, and a 30-year-old bottle of scotch. He also adds that it would be preferable if he could shave. Lauren threatens to leave him to rot, but he's unaffected and responds that her conscience will not allow her to do so, knowing he has the upper hand. So knowing she must meet his demands, she gives him a razor before leaving. When Lauren gets home, she sends the fingerprints to her detective friend Emilio, asking him to gather the information as soon as possible. Following this, she buys everything the man demanded and heads back to the bunker after so many years. He finally receives the delicious food and begins to enjoy it with tears of joy. She also gives him a chocolate bar, which causes him to become emotional. The man informs her that her father used to bring him chocolate once a year and give him one square piece, while leaving the rest on the shelf to mock him. After satisfying himself with the food, he introduces himself as Morgan Warner, and then starts revealing his past story. According to him, he met Archer 30 years ago, and they quickly became friends because they shared 3 vices: gambling, ego, and women. They became business partners, and one night, they had a few drinks together before driving back on their way. Archer collided with a pedestrian and killed him on the spot. Morgan wanted to call the cops, but Archer insisted that if there's nobody. As a result, Archer buried the body, and as Morgan was against it, Archer attacked him and imprisoned him in the bunker. Archer seemed to be scared that Morgan would turn him into the police. In addition, Morgan discloses that Archer had an affair with a woman named Sophia, who is everything Catherine couldn't be. As a result of this, Archer used to refer to her as his Gypsy Rose. Lauren doesn't believe him, so he provides her with Sophia's address, asking her to check it herself. He also tells her to ask Harold because he has a record of everything. Lauren is unable to process all of this, but somehow manages to remain calm. She then calls Amelia and asks that he check on a man named Morgan Warner. After this, she goes to the specified address to meet Sophia Loren, inquires where she met her father, to which Sophia replies in a poker game. During their conversation, she notices a boy's photograph and inquires about it. Much to Lauren's surprise, Sophia reveals that he is Alex, her son and Lauren's half-brother. Hearing this, Lauren can't handle the truth, so she walks out crying. Afterward, she goes to Harold and spills out her rage on him for keeping such a big secret from the family. In response, the lawyer says that it's his responsibility to keep the information private. Lauren then inquires as to what else he's been keeping hidden, to which he responds that there is nothing else that can harm her. Furthermore, he admits that he'll still keep the rest of the information hidden, so he suggests that she forget it. Later, when Lauren pays a visit to her mother, who's preparing for William's election campaign, she asks if she's heard of Morgan Warner, but it doesn't ring any bells. Shortly after, William walks in with his face tense. When asked, he says he's losing some polls, so he requests that Lauren come to the rally because she's well known for her honesty at work. The same night, Lauren returns to the bunker to uncover more information. She inquires about the location of the pedestrian's dead body that her father buried. Hearing this, Morgan proposes a deal. If he takes her, that she will have to release him. Lauren reluctantly accepts and finally leads him outside. This makes Morgan very emotional as he's stepping out of the bunker after a long time. Just then, Lauren receives a call from her husband, Scott, who inquires as to where she's been. Lauren only apologizes and hangs up the phone, promising to make up with him soon. Following this, she begins driving in the direction given by Morgan. After a while, they arrive at the location and he points out where the bodies are. Morgan sits back and smokes as she begins to dig. Lauren's fears are soon confirmed when she discovers a human skull, proving that Morgan was speaking the truth all along. Unable to think of anything else, she hides it back and returns Morgan to the bunker. She then asks him to put the collar back, but he begs her not to betray him. He claims that being an honest lawyer, she should not be as cruel as her father. Morgan then expresses his pain, saying he was unable to see her mother, even at her funeral. He begged her to let him go because he wants to salvage the few years he has left. He also promises to vanish from their lives without causing them any harm. Unfortunately, even after the long explanation, Lauren apologizes to him and walks away with her eyes welling up. The next day, she pays a visit to her brother's office and asks him for some advice, claiming that it's for one of her court cases. William responds by saying that he would either dump his body in the river or pay some goons to make and disappear from their lives. After some thought, Lauren goes to the bunker with a bag and makes Morgan promise that he will vanish forever. He says that he's been in this hell for longer than she's been alive and that once she releases him, he will never look back. As a result, Lauren agrees and asks him to clean himself, telling him that he'll be released tonight. And she goes to Harold and asks him to arrange for $1 million and a jet to fly off someone who her father had wronged. Harold inquires about the reason, but she refuses to reveal it to him in the next scene. Morgan is about to leave, but Lauren asks if her father has told him anything about her. He responds that Archer was proud of her, but he didn't like her going against his friends at this point. Morgan reveals another secret about William, who bribed the union reps. Lauren is shocked and confronts William about it right away, but he believes that bribing is necessary to obtain a higher post. He also claims that their father even bribed people to get her appointed as a district attorney. Unable to stand it any longer, she slaps him and storms off, warning him not to lie to her again. Finally, Morgan leaves the bunker carrying a chess piece as a souvenir. The moment he steps outside, he breathes in the fresh air and feels liberated. Lauren then drives him to the private jet where Harold hands him his new ID cards and informs him of the funds in his account. Harold and Morgan then board the jet while Lauren returns to the bunker to clean it. During this, she discovers a poison under the bed, but she doesn't react, believing that everything is over. Meanwhile, Amelia locates Morgan's file and delivers it to Lauren's residence. Catherine returns home and unwraps Lauren's package. Just then, Lauren walks in and asks why she's looking at her work instead of responding, and her mother asks fearfully why she has the picture of Carson. Lauren claims that his name is Morgan and honestly discloses that her father has been keeping him in the bunker for years. Hearing this, Catherine reveals that the man is a cold-hearted serial killer. She then asks about his whereabouts, but Lauren admits that she let him go. A few moments later, she notices the bunker's door is open. So she goes in and finds her mother unconscious while she checks on Catherine Morgan, who appears from behind and turns off the light. He then attacks her, knocking her out before tying her up. After she awakens, he admits injecting her father with the poison that eventually kills him. He also reveals the actual truth about the past. Morgan tells her about the night when he gave Catherine a pill and forced himself on her. At the same time, Archer came there for his wife's aid and drove him to the bunker. But on the way, Morgan distracted Archer and caused him to collide with a pedestrian. It's also revealed that Morgan was the one who buried the body. Despite Archer's objections, when Morgan decided to blame Archer for everything, the latter knocked him down and dragged him to the bunker, where he was assaulted brutally at the present. Lauren attempts to persuade. At this point, Catherine awakens and tells Morgan that she should have ended his life herself, prompting him to slap her. Seeing this, Lauren takes a different attack and calls him a pathetic lunatic, which infuriates him. As a result, he assaults her and throws her against the walls. He then reveals himself to be her biological father, which knocks the wind out of her. At the same time, Catherine manages to grab the gun and shoot him in the back of the head. The film concludes with the mother and daughter dousing the bunker in gasoline, lighting it on fire and watching it burn.